Welcome to the Leadership Expose podcast. This podcast is for leaders at diverse levels and organizations around the world who are seeking to scale and transform their leadership, to level up their business, and to create an impact in the lives of people all around them. Business topics, trends, innovation, and the intersection with leadership is the focus. We enable success. I'm your host, Stephen Paul. In this episode, we meet a leader with a diverse background in diverse areas of media and marketing. We're joined by Anna Antimiichuk. Her experience draws on the global experience across business sectors, both in mature and emerging markets. She holds a senior leadership role in an organization that helps other firms manage regulatory change efficiently. We'll learn more about this and the associated trends, but also about her journey and how she brings leadership to the forefront. Welcome, Anna. How are you doing this morning?
Hi, Stephen. Good morning. Doing great. Good morning from London. My name is Anna, as Stephen mentioned. So I represent a global RegTech vendor, CloseMatch. CloseMatch is a global compliance technology company which helps both fintechs and leading financial institutions standardize and automate their processes and workflows in order to manage governance and compliance risks. So excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, Anna. We are so pleased to have you on board here today. So tell us, Anna, about your journey. You've mentioned a little bit about CloseMatch, but tell us about your professional journey.
So it's a great question. I think that being part of something which is constantly evolving and growing is always a unique challenge. So actually, I joined CloseMatch and I have been leading brand and product communications from point zero, set up the function and have been building the brand. Later on, as the role evolved, I also stepped up to work with the product, leading engagements with the innovation labs and the regulators, including promoting our AI capabilities. And actually, this year, it will be 6 years that I'm in. I've worked on bringing awareness to the market of how important digital transformation is for compliance in financial services. And actually today, we can see that CloseMatch is considered a must-have solution for many organizations in Europe and the US. So that's really rewarding. But prior to CloseMatch, I have worked in a number of communications, marketing, and business development roles at various tech companies, launching digital terrestrial satellite TV equipment, working at nanotechnology and transport telematics. I also worked at a well-known international communications agency, and at the very beginning of my career, I actually started as a TV journalist and was teaching media science at a university. So then I defended a PhD thesis, and that actually brought me to London for the first time to study business strategy and planning.
Wow, that's amazing, Anna. So there's quite a few things that I picked up there. A lot of technology, a lot of regulatory change, media, marketing, product development. You seem to be quite diverse in a lot of topics here. Which is the most topic that resonates with you, or is it more balanced across these areas?
I guess it's just, that novelty angle, that's something new and positive that can bring real qualitative impact. And I'm not afraid of the word revolutionary change to lives, to professional lives, and as a consequence, to life as a whole. So probably I just was always interested in driving impact. Okay. That's what unites all of this.
Okay, wonderful. And you mentioned, Anna, about regulatory change. So tell us a little bit more about regulatory change and probably how that fits into, what most of the industries are facing here. Is it more specific to a particular sector or industry, or is it across sectors? Maybe let's delve a little bit more into that.
Yeah, so, it's you know that Clause Match is a regulatory technology solution, RegTech, but actually the idea came to our founder before this new subset of technology was even known as RegTech. So at first, Clause Match was referred to as legal tech. Then it was, you know, fintech, regtech. When we're working with regulators, it's subtech. So it just doesn't have one single name. And some people actually see it as a subset of financial technology, although its application can be much broader. It's well beyond the financial services, although, you know, the real need and the necessity, the urgent necessity was coming from the financial services market, of course.
Right. Okay. Wonderful. And Anna, you mentioned about media and marketing, and well, let's talk about media and marketing. So, do you find a big relationship between media and marketing here, and how do those two intersect from your perspective?
Oh, thank you for this question. So actually, I would say that media and marketing, they are like beasts of the same forest, but like different beasts, of course. So media is such a competitive market, you know, that there are a lot of media outlets. The media industry is such, you know, a huge one, and also it's considered to be, you know, the fourth power. So how powerful is it? Also, from the other side of things, we know that it's marketers that change the world with their ideas. So both of these are just so powerful in driving the change, but they come from completely different angles. And that's what just, you know, interested me in both of these areas. But of course, you should see a clear difference, a clear border between, you know, these two domains, I would say.
Okay, wonderful. And what makes it interesting with Clause Match? I mean, obviously there are quite a few areas and companies that provide similar type of offering. But what's different about, you know, what you're actually offering and what you bring to the table as well, and as a leader?
So our product at Clause Match, it absolutely makes a huge difference for people in compliance. Of course, no one will say this better than our founder, as he was the one who worked at global banks and energy companies in legal and compliance and experienced all of those pains. But Clause Match actually exists to bring full digital transformation to these functions and regulated companies. And the fact that we are getting positive feedback from them and also public positive feedback proves that this is actually transforming compliance, and it's doing its thing. I just heard one compliance professional talking about Clause Match recently. When she saw the platform, she honestly did not know anymore how this had not been invented and implemented everywhere a long time ago. It just makes life so much easier, she said, and with regulators demanding that compliance programs should be dynamic, intentional, embedded into the DNA of companies, there are only more and more regulations. The old ways of managing compliance are just becoming not sustainable anymore.
Yeah, amazing. I truly think that is actually a great way to bring all these new regulations in front of a company that's just being hit by regulations and don't know how to deal with it, and you bring a unique offering. So I can definitely relate to it. So Anna, if I'm a company or a business or an individual that's looking to leverage a solution, how would you know, that initial conversation with you and I sound like? I know you've mentioned, you know, regulatory change that you offer and so forth, but how would that initial conversation with you and I sound like?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it actually depends on what size of the of the business. It actually depends on the size of the business, as small, medium businesses actually have different pain points compared to enterprises. But the key message would be that this is a real way to transformational automation of all your daily mundane compliance processes and workflows, policies, procedures, standards, controls, and it will allow you to concentrate on value-added work and take your compliance to a next level of maturity. So as for the format, it could be a friendly chat over a cup of coffee. It could be an invitation to our compliance workshop to learn more about how to build an effective compliance program. It could be me sending you a couple of articles so you could have a look at how CloseMatch works. Anyways, it would be first a question regarding your pains, because in the first place, we are interested in delivering value to our customers or to our potential clients. And now actually we're working with fintechs, banks, insurance companies. So knowing how exactly we can solve for each relevant use case is key.
Amazing. Okay, wonderful. Anna, what is an experience or a story you can share that comes to mind about a time as a senior leader that resulted in a highly positive outcome?
Yes, so actually there have been many stories, but one story that comes to mind is our relationship with Barclays. So Barclays is our first client, and it's, it has a huge importance for CloseMatch. Getting our first press campaign with them and signing it off after several months. And it was such a positive momentum for our company just at the beginning of the journey. So just for understanding, working as a compliance vendor, you don't easily get publicity from, global banks. And then after 4.5 years, we publicly released another story of growth together when Barclays adopted our policy portal, and we actually released it in collaboration with Barclays. It was actually written by them, published on their website, and it released the information that the number of users increased up to 90,000. It literally all employees at Barclays are now using CloseMatch. So getting that story out, told by the bank itself is, I think it's great.
Amazing. And, we're in a situation where, we are in and out of the pandemic, maybe definitely out of the core pandemic. But what's your experience of what you're seeing as a challenge to, the business world as a result of pandemic over the last couple of years? And currently, how do you feel that you are bouncing back, but also what are you seeing with your clients as well?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. So although I must say that, of course, COVID brought in challenges, and we all were learning how to work as a distributed team. Our clients were learning how to work as distributed teams. But it proved that in a hybrid remote mode, the team is not at all less efficient. So we were supporting each other via weekly catch-ups and even virtual drinks. The same with clients, and our customer success team would be best to talk about that. So it's great to be back to face-to-face mode and learn to appreciate simple things. All of us by now probably have experienced COVID. It's not fun. You probably know that I just had it in May for the second time. So hopefully it will be the thing of the past soon. But the pandemic presented an opportunity for us. COVID, I see it as a window of opportunities and not only a challenge. So for instance, in 2020, we were actually pulled to the US market following the FinTech Innovation Lab, which was fully virtual due to lockdowns. Afterwards, we signed 4 large North American top-tier financial institutions right after that. So we can say that the US market is experiencing an increasing demand for RegTech. And that demand has been increasing due to multiple factors, of course. But the disruption of regular processes that COVID caused only highlighted once again that collaboration tools, communication tools, are no longer an option. They're no longer just nice to have, and this is the future.
Amazing. Anna, share with us a significant or an important leadership lesson that you've learned, which has transformed the way you lead or operate, and that has benefited other people.
So for me, leading means learning, constantly learning, and some people are such great examples. They do inspire me to go above and beyond. I follow multiple great personalities on LinkedIn and other channels. Some of them are from the world of tech. So may I name a few? It's Andrew Ng from Google's DeepMind, who's actually leading all the innovative work with AI for Google. I listen to his lectures, podcasts, where he discusses very complex things in a spontaneous format. There are so many absolutely amazing women, founders of tech startups, great minds. The Women in Silicon Roundabout event is also represented with such leaders, women. Some of the leaders who inspire me are still with us in this world. Others are already gone. And of course, for me, Steve Jobs always stands out. He was a genius. I may sound banal, but his 2005 speech to Stanford's graduation class was transformative to me. Connecting the dots in a retrospective sounds amazing. And since then, it's been always somewhere in my mind. I did not understand it at that time, but then it just, it's really transformative. Steve says one more important thing during that speech. Do not be discouraged by failures you might experience. And isn't it true? So how many times in life do we fail? But instead of being discouraged, do we always seek to benefit from these happenings? I'm learning to be thankful for my negative experiences, failures in life, although they can be painful. They can definitely be the points where you learn and grow. And also at times you kind of need that vaccination with a negative experience to transform you, not to have critically rough ones that can break you. And again, connecting the dots backwards, you might see that that was just the curve that brought you to where you are and not the failure as you perceived it at that time. Some of the people who inspire me are not from the world of tech, from the world of sports and cinema. Arnold Schwarzenegger said that strength does not come from winning. Your struggles develop your strengths. When you go through hardships and decide not to surrender, that's a strength. And another one from him, don't be afraid of failing. Everybody experiences failures, but some rise up with their heads up and keep walking, whereas others stop halfway through. I also adore one of the contemporary opera singers, Montserrat Caballé. Probably it's taking me too long to, but it's not just one example. Yeah. So what a voice. And during one of her interviews, she said, I'm not now, nor have I ever been a diva. I'm only Montserrat. And isn't it amazing how simple she appears to be, despite all of her accomplishments and talents? And at the end of the day, nothing inspires me more than common Latin phrases that my father repeated to me each and every day of my life. And there is a wealth of wisdom. There is a wealth of wisdom in all of them, as well as in other folk proverbs and sayings. Like, for instance, all that is mine is with me, with the meaning that our possessions are those of character traits and wisdom, as opposed to material things, and they are always with us.
It's amazing, Anna, because you've articulated quite a few, leaders that I follow as well, and I am very much in alignment with a lot of the things that you've just mentioned here. And it's such it's definitely a big inspiration to people that would look up to you. So well done you on that. So Anna, what are some of the important topics and trends on your mind these days? I know regulatory change, technology, and so forth are big, but aside from that, what are some of these topics that you feel impact leaders, boards, and their journey, and areas that they need to focus on?
So ESG is certainly a big trend globally. Regulators are issuing new ESG requirements, such as, for instance, the upcoming SEC climate-related disclosures, the TCFD, and then the first beta version of the TNFD framework. And we know that it's been around in some shape or form of corporate social responsibility, or CSR, and its elements, but now besides CSR, it has become a term used by capital markets, by investors and so on, to evaluate corporate behavior and determine financial performance of companies. In the form of ESG, so CSR has become measurable, and I think that's a good trend. because unless you can measure something, you can't really manage it. However, on the other hand, it needs to go beyond those figures and regulations. It actually needs to be embedded into your organization so that you not only attract investment opportunities, but really make a real impact. Improve your performance as you will be more adaptable and prepared for any rules and regulations in this domain. And we should not just think about the E, as we usually do, the environmental, but also the S and the G aspects. They are huge. At one of the recent conferences, this thought was actually voiced on one of the panels, and it was said that when it comes to ESG, do you follow regulatory guidance, or are you ready to go above and beyond? I think that's probably the approach that we'd all want to have.
Excellent. Excellent. I completely agree. ESG is such an important topic these days. I know it's been there for a while, but it's become so prominent these days. And it is just so interesting to hear, you know, a leader like yourself that voices that quite importantly to the different audience groups here. Anna, would you like to share any interest that you have aside from some of the things that you just described earlier?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been always close to the world of music. It is another planet outside of compliance and technology, of course. So I have played the piano since the age of 5. So I'm quite a frequent attendee of classical music concerts, festivals, and a participant at some of them as an amateur pianist. So I also love hiking, and there are so many amazing, beautiful places just outside London and in London to have a walk, not to mention Britain as a whole.
Wonderful. And what does a day in the life of Anna look like?
So again, I'm just thinking about COVID here. So it has corrected that 5 days a week office schedule, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not just about coming in the office for me. Every business day, I actually still get up quite early, around 7 a.m. And I can't boast of healthy habits here. So I love coffee. So that's probably a bad one, but I just don't start my day without a cup of coffee. I prefer hybrid mode. Working from the office 3 days a week is most efficient for me usually. I really like that at Closematch, we are totally flexible, and we don't just work together, we also do many fun activities together. It is part of our culture, and may I just mention that this July, we're going to participate in the Dragon Boat Race in Canary Wharf, also with the goal to raise money for the water aid. So inviting anyone to come and support and cheer for us on July the 7th.
Excellent. Wonderful. Anna, is there anything that you'd like to share with regards to anything that you've learned in your life? You know, you've had, you know, wonderful journeys and so forth, but is there anything really significant that you want to share that you've learned in your life?
Yeah, so I will be really brief here, but I'll just leave this message in case someone needs to hear it. So we need to treasure every moment, although we normally don't with our parents. Because the moment then when they are gone comes always unexpectedly.
That's a very huge lesson and a very huge message. And Anna, what's the next big business adventure for you?
Oh, well, who knows? Actually, when we plan something in life and when we voice it, almost 90% nothing happens. I'm interested in so many things. I'm interested in having a business of my own, but this has to be a very valid idea to set up a business. But I still think of this at times. Who knows? So nothing to be disclosed yet.
Wonderful. Anna, we're coming to a close very shortly here. Is there anything that you'd like to share, as part of any closing messages or a challenge to other leaders on any of the topics that you want to highlight here?
I just say one thing: know your weaknesses, know your strengths, look out for opportunities, and just keep going. Like as ancient Romans said, the road will be mastered by the walking.
Wise words from Anna. Wonderful.
From
Thank you very
Romans,
much.
actually.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But you wrapped it all well, really nicely. But no, thank you very much, Anna, for being with us today and sharing your journey and such an important topic on change and regulatory change and things that's happening in the world these days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephen, for having me.
Wonderful. Okay, folks, thank you very much for listening in, and stay tuned for our next episode on the evolution of the management team in a mature and growing company. Thank you and have a wonderful day.